Welcome to the Be Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sky Bradshaw, and today we're exploring the vulnerability and courage it takes to step fully into community, receive support, and allow ourselves to truly belong. In this episode, The Courage to Belong, we'll talk with Jordan Lacenski about creating spaces where meaningful relationships can develop and how boundaries, balance, and being help us build healthy, authentic connections. Together, we'll explore the spiritual principle that in giving we receive and receiving we give, and what becomes possible when we allow ourselves to both support and be supported. Before we move into the Unclouded Heart segment for spiritual messages of wisdom, let's invite ourselves to become present in this moment within our bodies, mind, and energy. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, and in through your nose, and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, invite your mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe, so we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good, and the highest and best good of all involved, as we open up space to give and receive. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. There is great wisdom in those words. Lately, I've been contemplating the meaning of community and leadership, and what it truly means to belong. We live in a time when we can access an extraordinary amount of information without ever leaving the comfort of our homes. We can pick up our phones, type a question into a search bar, and learn almost anything. We can watch someone demonstrate a practice, listen to a teacher share their knowledge, or find instructions that help us figure out how to do something on our own. That access can be incredibly useful, but information alone cannot give us everything that wisdom has to offer. It cannot replace shared experience. It cannot recreate the insight found in genuine connection or the guidance of someone who has walked a path before us. It cannot fully offer the kind of learning that happens when we sit with another person, exchange energy, witness one another's humanity, and allow ourselves to be changed by that encounter. This can happen wherever authentic connection is cultivated. It can happen in a physical gathering, an online classroom, a virtual circle, a group conversation, or any space where people are willing to show up with presence and intention. Sometimes, however, we choose convenience without recognizing we may be exchanging it for depth. We collect the information, take what we need, and move on without entering into a shared experience with the people surrounding the work. But community asks more of us than simply having access. It asks us to participate. It asks us to become visible. It asks us to bring what we know, what we question, what we need, and what we have to offer into relationship with others. And that is often where the real work begins. Sometimes the work is not finding more information or figuring out how to do something on our own. Sometimes the real work is recognizing that we were never meant to experience all of our learning, healing, and growth independently. Community brings mirrors to places within us that still need care and attention. It amplifies strengths we may not yet recognize in ourselves. It invites us to see through perspectives beyond our own and consider possibilities that may have never occurred to us. It can also help dissolve division. When we enter into genuine relationship, other people are no longer simply ideas, categories, opinions, or distant stories. They become people we have listened to, people whose experience have expanded our understanding, people whose humanity has touched our own. Within authentic community, we connect through the whole trilogy. We connect through the physical because our bodies are part of every experience, whether we're sharing a physical location or gathering across a distance. We notice whether we feel open or guarded, comfortable or uncertain, engaged or ready to withdraw. We connect through the mental and emotional as we exchange thoughts, stories, questions, and experiences. We begin to hear not only what another person believes, but also the feelings and meaning beneath their words. And we connect energetically. We can see, sense, and feel when someone is sincerely present, recognizing what becomes amplified when our energies gather, and what begins to shift when we no longer believe we must carry everything alone. Information can teach us, but community gives us an opportunity to experience and practice. I'll always value quiet time and the space solitude gives me to listen inwardly. There are parts of our path that can only be explored within ourselves, but independence and community do not have to oppose one another. Independent experience helps us recognize our own voices, while community helps us understand how those voices grow, contribute, and evolve through connection. As I often remind people, some growth can only happen when we take what we have learned on the inside and put it into practice on the outside. And that takes courage because community makes us vulnerable. As teachers and leaders, we become vulnerable when we allow others to witness our humanity. Our authenticity becomes an example, and that can feel scary. As peers, we become vulnerable when we walk beside one another without judgment. We remember that a stumble is not always a fall, and that we are all humans having human experiences. Sometimes we must be willing to become the learner, to raise our hand and ask for help and trust that someone may be willing to guide or support us. Receiving help does not make us weak or diminish our value. It simply means recognizing that we do not have to know everything or navigate every part of our growth alone. Sometimes allowing another person to contribute to our journey is one of the greatest gifts we can offer them. There's a spiritual principle that says, in giving I receive, and receiving I give. Community allows us to live both sides of that truth. Sometimes we have wisdom, care, or strength to offer. At other times, the most loving thing we can do is let someone offer those things to us. Belonging deepens when we stop measuring our value only by what we provide and trust that our presence is also worthy of care. You do not have to reveal every part of yourself to every person. Vulnerability does not require abandoning discernment, and community does not require sacrificing your individuality. Simply open a little space, ask the question, join the conversation, let someone walk beside you, offer support when it's yours to give, and receive when it is yours to need.
We're excited to share that Be Your Soul host Sky Bradshaw has launched a new look and a new online home, bringing her work together in one place. From the Be Your Soul podcast and notes from Sky on Substack to online classes, spiritual services, creative work, upcoming events, and more, you can now explore the many ways to learn, connect, and work with Sky through one central space. Whether you're looking for a new episode, a little inspiration, a class to support your growth, or a deeper way to connect with your own path, we invite you to come explore what's available and see what speaks to you. Visit www.skybradshaw.com to discover the new site and find your way to whatever feels like the right next step.
Today's guest is Jordan Lacenski. Jordan is a brand strategist, community builder, and the co-founder and owner of She-Wolf, a woman-led community based in Greensboro, North Carolina. Through gatherings, retreats, service, and shared experiences, She-Wolf creates opportunities for women and other members of its inclusive community to move beyond simply meeting one another and begin building genuine connection. Grounded in Jordan's belief that we need one another and that real community is worth intentionally creating, her work reflects the heart of today's conversation. That belonging is not only about finding a space where we're welcomed, but having the courage to show up, allow ourselves to be known, and both offer and receive support. So thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to have you on the show.
That was beautiful. I'm going to do my marketing.
Well, it's how I feel. Usually when I invite a guest on, the universe brings forward the topic.
Yeah.
And then I, go in and say, well, who represents this? Who needs, who can people connect to and relate with and understand that is someone like me. I see that person doing the things that, I want to do, or that person has experiences. So part of the base of the show is the concept that when the one is strengthened, the sum is strengthened. And in that perspective, it really brings forward that concept of community and how, we enter community and community is transformed and we are transformed in those spaces. And so when I was thinking about who this bravery to belong, your name came straight to the top of my list. So thinking about that belonging, we often focus on whether we'll be accepted, like will we be accepted into community? But truly belonging requires something of us, like the ability to be accepted, the vulnerability to step in and allow ourselves to be known and receive what community has to offer, while also knowing that we have something valuable to give. And those two things aren't separate. It is that spiritual property, and giving I receive and receiving I give. Mm-hmm. So how does it connect in when you're focused in those spaces? What does courage to belong mean to you? And how do you see it show up in your community?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, we are so conditioned and more to care what other people think and to want to be seen and accepted. And I mean, every human being wants to be known, like truly seen and known and loved anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Like fully. And we go through our lives, we may or may not get that to some degree growing up. We have different experiences where we've been rejected. And so, of course, we're like a little scared to jump right in or dive right in. And everyone has different gifts, different personalities. Some are more extroverted and for some it's easier, but nothing is what it seems, right? So people that you would think are like great in those types of environments, like jump in. Like people often think I'm an extrovert. I'm not.
Same.
So while I love community and while it is this thing I'm building, I also really recognize that I need time to recharge to myself. So courage, I think, is first really knowing and accepting yourself to be able to show up as you are. And it's natural. Like everybody is going to be a little bit worried about the reaction of what they might say or what they might do. And I have several friends that will like text me after gatherings and be like, oh my gosh, I was such an idiot to say that. And I'm like, nobody thinks that. Right. Everybody loves that you are your authentic self. Like nobody is going home like, oh my gosh, that was weird. We all know each other and love each other at different degrees and in different periods of our life. And that circle, like there are people in your inner circle, and that changes, and that's normal, and that's natural. But I think we get scared. Like, are they going to leave? If I show up fully as myself, are they going to leave? Are they going to mock me? And so for a lot of people, it's like their biggest fear.
Yeah.
If you have like anxious attachment or abandonment, like in your history. And so that makes sense. Your body, your nervous system is like, I don't know, that's a risk, not sure. But, like I think God love inside out. Like,
Yes.
because I'm like, that is when anxiety takes over. That is exactly what happens. And so I think we have to like give all of our parts, like if, in therapy, family systems therapy, like give all of our parts a little bit of room, right, to take the stage and to notice, like, okay, my body is doing that, but that's not a fact. Like, this is
Right.
the fact that this person is gonna reject me. We don't know that yet. Like, what am I worried about? So there's all these like practices, right, that you can take for your own mindfulness and your own truth. But I think truly accepting yourself and loving yourself, which can also come from being in community where other people won't accept you. Like, I loved when you sent me kind of the summary of what we want to talk about today. Like, this give and I mean, it is so necessary. It is so necessary. Like, we cannot be solo.
Exactly.
We are tribal people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, like I think you have to meet yourself deeply as well. You're going to show up more authentically. You're going to, in places and in relationships, especially like very close relationships, you can only meet people as deep as you've met yourself. So it's always a work in progress.
Yeah. And it's for me, I was trying to remind people when people are like, oh my gosh, they're thinking about that thing I did. I say, okay, well, think of one thing weird that they did. And they're like, well, I can't think of one thing weird that they did. And I'm like, see, like your job is to think of you and their job is to think of them. And like, if you're going to overthink of you,
Right.
it doesn't mean they are.
Right. Yeah. They're probably more concerned with their own. We're all, pretty self-absorbed.
And that can come forward not in a negative way, but just in a way of like where we're imagining this grand lesson that everyone is involved in. And technically, we're meant to be working in the tribe in our position. And so that's that in giving I receive, which is like if I show up fully, wholly doing my work in my connection, then I will be received. But if I start deferring my power to what other people think or other people's perceptions, or I always say advice is not instruction. So like how do we pay attention to not subtly deferring that power instead of just standing in our own, which it does take bravery because, when we pull the masks back and just be who we are, I like to think of it as information because if I do show who I am and that doesn't match someone, then that's valid information to know. It's not, and if I take it into judgment of self, something's wrong with me, then that's where it gets sticky. But if I can say like, oh, if that person's didn't vibe, then that's information.
Right. Yeah. And I think they may not have capacity. I think like we get so kind of like wrapped up in like if we're going through a hard time and someone isn't there for us, like we sometimes forget to consider like everybody has stuff, everybody's going through stuff. And so beautiful things can happen when you share that, if it's a safe place to share that, right? Like you could share something that you're struggling with and someone might say, I am so glad you said that. I can relate, and you feel seen and there's this bond, right? Similarly, they may not have the capacity to do it. The thing that you're going through might scare them because they're scared of that thing happening to them, or they might have been through it and they're not ready to process it and think about it. So I think we have to really consider like if and when we have like a reaction or a vibe or an energy shift from somebody and we're like, oh, they just got really quiet. What's going on? I mean, that could mean a million things. We don't know.
Right.
Everybody is like going through their own life. Nothing is permanent. I mean, the storm comes in, the storm leaves. There's seasons. There are these seasons where things can be really, really hard. And oftentimes that's when we need the village the most.
Mm-hmm.
And someone along the line told us like not to be too much, told us not to be a burden, not to air your dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like, I'm an open book. it's a lot for some people. They're like, what? I would never share that, And so I get that. And I feel like some of the most beautiful, real conversations I've had have been when I have shared something that has been really hard, or when I have been really fully vulnerable and they're able to say, hey, I went through that. This is what helped me survive it. Or just like, you know what else is really nice? Hey, that sucks. Like that really sucks. And not trying to fix it or, but just, I mean, our nervous system literally, like scientifically, like calms down when we have someone who can be present with us in those moments too. So,
yeah. One of the things that my friend group does often is, and we've kind of like worked on this, is recognizing like if somebody's like, oh my gosh, this thing happened, I need to vent, like, and then, they'll say whatever. And I say back to them, like, okay, do you want me to bitch with you? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to give advice? Like, what? Like, how do you want me to show up for you right now? Because I can do whatever you need. Because that's the other part of that in giving and receive. Like, sometimes we just want to get it out and we don't want to hash it out.
right.
And sometimes we want to hash it out. And then other times we just, like want somebody to be like, yeah, that sucks. And I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So there's a great deal of identity and value attached to being a person who leads and who organizes and holds space for others. And as you said, you just offered your, an open book sort of person. And so in the cultivation of the community of She-Wolf, what did you learn about letting yourself be supported? Where oftentimes when we're leaders, we go in, at least in the beginning, a lot of times as this feeling of like, well, I need to be perceived as perfect, or I need to be perceived as the one who knows what's going on, because that can it can rock somebody's boat, or whatever we think, whatever false story we tell ourselves about denying our humanness.
Yeah. It's a fantastic question. I'm still learning that. I mean, every day. And I think what has helped is that since we kind of rebirthed this thing, a year and several months ago in Greensboro, there have been women who have stepped up and said, I want to help. I want to help lead this thing. I want to help make this thing happen. And so we call them alphas. And I'm constantly kind of figuring out like, what does this look like? Sometimes I don't want to have to ask them or burden them, right? And I have to remind myself, like, they want to, like, they're bought in, they believe in this thing. They want to see this thing grow and succeed and be sustainable. And it's not sustainable when one person does it.
Right.
You are the leader of the thing and you are trying to be everything to everyone. It's not sustainable and it will burn out. And it's interesting to see, I mean, community is having a moment. Like, communities are popping up left and right all over. And really, like, in our little bubble too, there are a ton of new communities being created. I am so here for that. I love that. I would love to have like a giant panel where we are all on, some kind of discussion and people can say, that feels like my vibe. I'm going to try that one, And if someone comes to a She-Wolf event and they're like, I don't know if this is my vibe, and I know of a community that would serve them better, like, I want to take them. Like, please.
I just got the spirit chills on that one. So that might need to happen in the world.
Yeah, right? Don't you think? Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
Organize that.
we should work on that.
It's hard to find and it's hard to step in. And so if you have like a low commitment way of just saying like, can I like mini interview these groups? Because there are times where like one of our suite members, like from the beginning, came to one of our coffees and I could see her kind of like lingering. We're at Chandler's, right? And she's like, we're in the couches in the back and I love that space. And she's kind of like, I think that's my group, but I don't know. And so I said, are you here for She-Wolf? And she was like, I am, but I wasn't sure if this is going to be like a cool girl vibe. And I was like, oh my God, come sit down. And now she comes to all kinds of things. So we are her people. She feels safe here, which is what I like aim to create. And of course I want that to be for everyone, but different times of life, as we just talked about, different seasons, it may not be. And I think too, the message that you're sending as the leader, like, what is the expectation? And so it's interesting because I've had several people say like, oh, I don't think I can commit to this thing. Like I would miss like half of it. And I'm like, you come when you need it. You know, and like obviously the beautiful thing that happens is that the more that you come, the deeper the connections and the more this group like really like goes deeper and not as wide. And so obviously that's the goal. Well, that's what we want. But I also don't want you to feel guilty because you can't come to a thing. Like it's not attendance policy. And so what am I doing to make you feel like you have to be at everything? And I have been learning to really step back. And the alphas, I trust with my life. I mean, so many of them have very different strengths and are really, really good at like jumping in, taking over. Like they are alpha females. Like they're like, retreats are my jam. I got this. I travel plan all the time. I'm taking it. One of our alphas is like, I would love to, with my beautiful calligraphy, send handwritten notes to everybody that joins. I'm like, I love that you want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I don't have the time to do it. So, and yours is going to be more beautiful. So I let her do it in her system, in her way. And so there is some structure where like we all, you know, we meet monthly, we all come together, we all really talk about like where we want this to go. And we've been tweaking those roles a lot. Like I want you to do something you feel aligned with, right? Something that fills you up and makes you passionate. And there are so many ways that this community can impact our community, you know? So one gal is like, nonprofits are my jam. I'm like, that is one of our top values. That is one of my top values. That is one of our, as a community, top values. Like we really want to give back in some way at every event that we do, financially if we can. And so that's her role. And she's like, every month I'm going to assign some kind of cause that aligns with our values. And that might mean like you show up at an event and you bring laundry detergent. That might mean that we tell a story of, you know, of impact. But I think knowledge is often the barrier. And people are like, what's going on? When is it going on? What's happening in my city or my town? And so being informed in a way that's like curated too, like these are the things I really care about. These are the things that I know will fill me up. And so having that in one space feels really important. And that in real life community feels really important. So I've learned, and I'm still learning, to let go a little bit and also to continue to remind myself that I only have so much capacity. And if I am like in the minutia of every single little event that every member brings to me as an idea, then I can't lead the direction of this thing because my brain is in a different place now. And if I really focus on like the biggest impact and what we're really trying to create, then I can empower them. Like we're all grown ass people. Like these, like if you want to organize a Pick Sunflowers event, please, babe, do it, you know? And just so you know, you own it, you know, and I might be able to come and I might not be able to come. And so I've been able to like forgive myself a little bit. And even last week, I showed up to a book club that a member organized. And this has been so funny because the members are telling me what they need, right? And it's been really cool to watch them also be a part of creating it because that is community. And one of them organized this book club, and the book clubs have been hilarious. They've been like so much fun and so outside of everyone's comfort zone. Like the books, I mean, we did like Dungeon Crawler Carl. None of us would ever read this. Let's do it.
Nice.
You know, it was so entertaining, the audiobook. And then the organizer of that book club made like an escape room game for us to do that was like themed around. I mean, they're getting like so creative and they're filling their own creative juices and they're doing things that they really like to do. And, you know, it's like no pressure. Like we could just also talk about the book. But I just had that book club and the one that I just went to, which was Heated Rivalry. And we got flash tats afterwards. We literally hosted it at a tattoo parlor. I was just there and they were just leading it. I got to be like a participant. And I mean, I introduced myself and who I am, but it was so cool because half the people didn't know who I was or that I founded this thing. And I loved that. And it was great just to be a part of the community. And I felt like a proud mama wolf, you know, like I just felt really fulfilled and really like I felt like I could cry because it was like, this is the vision for the thing. And I'm so happy that it's happening organically and also realizing like I have to give that space to others.
Right. And energetically, the concept that you're describing is like, you know, if we we're often told, in some of those myths that we're told, is that all relationships should be 50-50. And quite honestly, there's going to be a gradient that's going to be, 30-70, and some days you're going to need more and some days you're going to give more. But if you consistently come in giving 80% and asking the other people only 20%, the challenge is that becomes each person's buy-in. Like, it might not be equal in time, energy, attention, focus, but you've created and shifted the energetic contract saying my responsibility becomes this and your responsibility becomes that. And what we don't think about that, because a lot of times as we're focusing and trying to grow into ourselves, we're like, yes, I need to, create more appropriate balances. But if we think of it in our nurturing aspect, we're technically taking 30% of experiences and possibilities, connections, lessons, journeying. We're taking 30% away from that person because we're not asking them to show up. And that's when community gets really good, is that we know there's this central group that is making sure that the ship is being steered in the right direction, but everybody has a part. Everybody feels valid and important, and everyone understands that they are seen and valued for whatever it is they can contribute. And then that creates the collective whole.
Yes. I had like this visual of like a real village. And, and specifically like our group is for anyone who identifies as she, her, some of the time, part of the time, all the time. So my vision is of women in a village and like kind of at this like watering hole. And I think we have to normalize like what you got percentage wise. I think we need to normalize that in our romantic relationships. We need to we feel like we have like this guilt or something. Like I have to do more. Like actually, hey, guess what? Today I have 10%. That's what I got in the tank. That doesn't mean that the other person needs to have 90% because you only have 10. You can pull in other parts of your village to fill in the rest of the percent. Like if I'm at 10 and they're like, I'm at 20, that's what I got. I'm like, okay, so what do we need to do? We can order food instead of cooking it. We can get a babysitter if we need to. We can go outside and take a break. We can, what does that look like? What kind of help and support do we have? And when we normalize that, and if you think about it, like the village, I'm sure there wasn't like the same woman cooking dinner for all the people every single night. Like exactly. I'm sure it was like, okay, hey, you know what I got today? I got the water. Can you hold the kids down so that I can, like go pick the vegetables, and everybody like working together. And I think as a society, right, like we've become very individualistic, and we've like literally built fences, and we're literally like more secluded. Like we no longer have huts in our parts of the world currently. Like we are, moving to the suburbs, and I love to see like all the kids running around my neighborhood with their fishing poles. Like I feel like it's like, the 90s, like it feels like a little bit more. I mean, they're on their like electric scooters. It's a little different, but I like they're outside, they're together, they're playing, like, because it feels like it's just become so like insular, and it feels like just like more and more. And then throw in like, if you're in a stage of parenting, like your parenting styles, it's a very different world right now where like, I don't feel like I could say something to every one of my friends' kids, like if they were acting up, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel comfortable saying like, hey, we don't do that with all of them. Like some of them, yes. Some of them, like where we have like intentionally created this village, I feel like we all trust each other. Like we all like, hey, if my child is acting a fool, you have permission to correct that, And so I think like more and more, like we've become like a little bit more defensive, or a little bit more like, this is what we believe in, this is what and just like less collaborative and less like trusting. And there's fear. There's a lot of fear. Like the news creates a lot of fear. Obviously like your life experiences, things heard, there's a lot of fear, And I think, guess what that does? Like it just creates more anxiety.
Right.
And more seclusion. And I think we all know we all feel it when you are in community, like when you are, even if it's like a brand new space and you show up, but it is your space, like you leave there feeling more full. And it's kind of, I mean, it's like anything else health related. Like you might buy the gym membership and never go. Okay. So you're not going to get a lot out of the, not going to get a lot out of the gym. You know? And when you go, do you feel better? Like, you know that that's good for you. Yes. Because like chemically, like your endorphins are pumping and you're taking care of your body and you're probably going to make better choices throughout the day. And I feel the same way about community. It's like, well, let me tell you, there are times where I'm like, you know what sounds better than me going to this thing where I have to be on, like being in my sweatpants and like eating buttered noodles and chilling on my couch. Like that actually is that, like I would rather do that. And there are times where I feel burnt out and I don't want to do it. And when I like talk myself out of, you know, whatever it is going on, and I say, get in the car, we're going. And I show up to the thing, I always feel better. I always feel more full. And then I come home and I'm like way more present with my family, my kids, my loved ones, because I got some time for me.
Yep. And that's it. It's a nutrient that's really, really valuable and important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ask every guest 3 questions. And the first one is, what do you think it means to be your soul?
Oh, yeah. When you sent that question, I was like, I pulled out for the video folks to be able to see this ridiculous sketchbook. So I have this massive sketchbook. I don't think they make them bigger than this. And I got it because I was working with this resilience coach. And she was like, you need unlined paper and you need like a book of me where you could literally just write down and come back to it anytime. Like it could be a page that says like things I need to sit with or things that feel fucked up or the woman I want to be. And just as your thoughts pop in, like just you write them down and then move on, you know? And so there are several things that before I was hopping on here, I was like looking through because I was like, let me get centered back on this work that I've been doing, you know, forever. And there were things that popped up to me that felt like, okay, my soul. And one of them was compassionate warrior. It's like, what does that mean? So for me, there is this balance of authority and softness. Like there is this balance of like boundaries and giving and we have to figure that out. And I think oftentimes we like make excuses, like, or we call something self-care when it's not, right? Like we're not really being true to what's really going on with us and those around us. And so I feel like it is to be your soul, like it is to be connected to your body in a way that is consistently sharing information. And then analyzing that information, like, is that true? Because we lie to ourselves often. And so what does it mean to be a warrior, like a compassionate warrior with myself? What does that look like for my family? What does that look like for my community? To me, that means like I show up and I fight for the causes that I believe in whatever way that I can and know how. To me, like the world and the noisiness, like the antidote to that, like I can do this. I can create community that fills people up and then that trickles out. So I think you're always searching for your soul. Like you have to be willing to keep coming back to it. And one of the other things that I had open was like, there is this resilience spiral that when I was working with that coach, she designed. And it truly is like you are doing this for yourself, the world, everyone around you, but you're never stopping. It's it's like a slinky. Like you grow, but you keep coming back to those same issues, those same challenges. But you get closer and closer to the center of yourself. And there are steps that she creates, and her name's Lorca Smetana. She would be a great person for you to chat with. But it's like compassion. What does that mean for yourself? What does that mean for others? And you're really just mapping like this knowing of yourself in all of these different stages where you can drive into the truer you. And so that's, I mean, to me, like, I think you feel it. I think you feel it. You have to practice feeling. But I mean, your body knows things way before the rest of you does, or you're willing to acknowledge it. And so I think you have to like continue to work on that connection so that your body can speak to you. Yeah.
I love that.
That's what I would say for myself.
What is one self-care practice you do every day to fuel your energy?
That one held me accountable a little bit because I am I'm learning more about like my own sleep cycle and like how I do better. And it really is like your girl needs to be in the bed by 9:30. Like, I really do. And I rarely do it. And then I feel terrible. But like, so last night went to bed early, woke up, moved my body. And I am a different person. I was literally just talking to my husband about this. He was like, yeah, when you like try to hang out with me, because he's a night owl, when you try to like stay up and hang out with me to like get some quality time, like it actually is that quality for the rest of the day, because, like the next day, because you're exhausted. Like my natural bedtime is like 10 p.m. So I'm working on that. But moving, if I go to bed and, I have kids, so it's out of control. But if I can get in my bed, do what I can control, which is like get in my bed by a certain time and move my body the next morning, I am just like more clear headed. I am more energized. I am not as foggy.
Yeah. Sleep is actually probably if we did like a collective highest answer from all of my guests.
Yeah.
I think sleep is probably the number one answer that all my guests give as their self-care practice. So for the listeners, just cue in. Sleep is important.
Well, all the tips, I'm going to go back and listen. Like, what pillow are you using? What vitamins are you taking? How do we really maximize the sleep?
Yeah. So when you're centered and balanced, what does that look like and feel like in your life?
Oh, I am present when I'm centered and balanced. I have less anxiety, less pressure, less distraction when I'm centered and balanced, which makes sense, right? In theory, like obviously. But that's hard to do in practice. There's so many times where, my daughter is 2 and she's like, Mom, want to read book with me? And I'm like, how can you say no to that? And also we have to get out the door. We have, and I'm like, okay, well, what's it short of? But if I'm not like soaking in that moment, like I'm not giving her what she needs. I'm not getting what I'm getting from that moment. Like, and I'm stressed about, being 3 minutes late. Like sometimes it's okay to just read, 3 minutes late. So I feel like I can be more present with everyone. I can show up with an energy that is being willing to receive and able to give when you have that balance. Life is going to happen.
Yeah.
And throw you curveballs. And so how you handle it when you're exhausted and imbalanced versus how you handle it when you've actually like nurtured and taken care of yourself in all the ways we talked about, like is going to be dramatically different. Like you're going to have more gas in the tank. You're going to have like, if you get down to depletion, like all bets are off. Like it's not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone. So it's a constant practice. I am like a very busy gal. I've always been that way. And so like I challenge myself even to just like spend time alone more, try to do less or do more of the thing that I know I'm supposed to be doing. Obviously there's like adult things that we have to do that are not very fun, but, trying to like really make time for like the things that I know put me in that place, that more present, more balanced, like step away from the computer.
Yeah, for sure. And there's that balance that you talked about. So if people were looking for you and looking for She-Wolf, can you, shout out your website? Is there anything that you have coming up that you want listeners to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So She-Wolf can be found online at shewolf.co. That's co. It's not a .com. And the social media handle is at shewolfco. So try to stay consistent there. And we have a retreat coming up in October, and it's in Macedon, and it's called the Wild Women Retreat. And it's in the mountains. It's like a 4-season like annual, resort that has all kinds of activities. And so it's kind of like pick your own adventure. Like if you're feeling like really challenging yourself and you want to like do downhill mountain biking, let's do it. If you want to do a more chill trail ride, let's do it. There's horseback riding. There's going to be like, we often design things like create something, move your body and gather. Like that's kind of our model because we really feel like those 3 types of events and experiences, like is exactly what your body needs and your nervous system needs. And so the retreats are really modeled around that too, like giving you enough time to just like kind of sit and be creative and connect with people and have conversation. And then also activities that like, challenge you a little bit and like, let's just see what you're made of a little bit and move your body a little bit. So, that is happening in October. And we have a solo room left and a shared room left.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This was such a great conversation. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you, dear listeners, for sharing this time with us and for bringing your openness and presence to today's conversation. We're truly grateful you chose to spend time in this moment with Be Your Soul. Such a heartfelt thank you to you, Jordan, for sharing your wisdom, experience, and the belief in the power of community. Today's conversation reminds us that belonging is not only about finding a place where you are welcomed. It also takes the courage to participate, allow ourselves to be known, and receive the support that connection offers.
What if caring for your energy became as natural as brushing your teeth, washing your hands, or taking a shower? Sky Bradshaw's live energy hygiene course is designed to help you recognize, understand, and support your energy in everyday life. Together, we'll explore what affects your energy, how to recognize when you feel depleted or out of balance, and practical tools to help you return to a greater sense of connection and support. This is not about adding another complicated spiritual routine to your day. It's about building awareness and creating a practical, sustainable, energetic toolbox you can use in real life. The course will be offered live on Zoom and in office, with space to learn, practice, ask questions, and connect in community. Can't attend live, or did you discover the course after the live dates? The recordings and coursework will also be available through the online classroom. Visit skybradshaw.com to learn more, explore upcoming classes, and discover new ways to connect, learn, and grow.
Today, I want to share a journaling practice to help you explore the ways you protect yourself within relationships and community. I call it boundary or barrier. We often use these words interchangeably, but boundary and barrier do not serve exactly the same purpose. A boundary communicates what we need to remain safe, healthy, balanced, and connected to ourselves while we're in connection with someone else. It helps us understand what is ours to give, what we are available to receive, and what is healthy and appropriate within relationship. A barrier offers a different kind of protection. It creates a separation. It may prevent someone from reaching us or limit connection from developing at all. And sometimes the barrier is necessary. There may be people, relationships, or environments that are not safe or healthy for us. There may be times when distance, separation, or closing a door is the most loving decision we can make for ourselves. The purpose of this practice is not to convince you that every barrier must come down. It is to help you recognize what you've built, why you built it, and whether it still serves the life and relationships you want today. Sometimes we create a barrier when what we truly need is a boundary. We may withdraw completely because we do not know how to communicate a limit. We may avoid asking for what we need because we're afraid of how the other person will respond. We may keep people at a distance and call it protecting our peace, when underneath that protection, there may also be a fear of being disappointed, misunderstood, rejected, or truly known. A barrier says, you cannot reach me. A boundary says, this is how you can be in relationship with me. A barrier may close the door. A boundary may help us decide how, when, and for whom the door can safely open. Both can be protective. The question is whether our protection is responding to what is happening now or continuing to respond to something that happened before. So for this practice, grab your trusty journal and bring to mind one relationship or community where you feel some distance, hesitation, or resistance. I want to invite you not to choose the most painful or complicated relationship in your life. Begin with something you can explore with honesty and curiosity. It might be a friendship, family relationship, spiritual community, online group, class, professional circle, or another space where some part of you wants connection while another part remains guarded. Before you begin writing, pause and notice what happens inside you when you think about this relationship or community. What happens in your physical body? Do you feel open, relaxed, tense, heavy, or ready to pull away? What emotions or thoughts become present? What do you notice energetically? Do you feel expanded, depleted, supported, uncertain, or closed? Try not to explain or change what you notice. Simply allow your response to become information. Then we'll begin with this first journaling question. What am I protecting? Try to move beneath the behavior itself. If you avoid participating, decline invitations, keep conversations on a surface level, or remain in a position where you are always the helper, what might that be protecting? Or perhaps you're protecting yourself from rejection, disappointment, judgment, obligation, conflict, or the vulnerability of needing someone. Whatever comes forward, try not to criticize it. Protection usually develops for a reason. Begin by understanding the reason before deciding whether anything needs to change. The second question, does this protection help me remain connected to myself while connecting with others? Or does it prevent connection altogether? A healthy boundary allows us to remain in relationship with ourselves while we're in relationship with another. It helps us participate without disappearing, overgiving, or abandoning what we know to be true for us. A barrier may keep us from participating at all. It can prevent others from knowing what we need, offering their support, or developing a meaningful relationship with us. As you write, notice whether your protection creates clarity within connection or whether it keeps connection from beginning. The third thing to journal about, is this protection responding to what is happening now or to what I fear may happen because of something I've experienced in the past? Our past experiences teach us. They help us recognize danger, incompatibility, and patterns that we don't want to repeat. That wisdom matters. But sometimes an old experience becomes the lens through which we see every new possibility. We respond to the present as though it has already become the past. Ask yourself, what evidence do you have about this person or community as it exists today? Are your concerns based on what has actually happened here? Or are you anticipating what could happen because of what happened someplace else? We're not asking you to dismiss your intuition or force yourself to trust. Simply become curious about whether your response belongs fully to this moment. And then the last question is, what do I need in order for connection to feel healthy and appropriate? This is where we begin turning protection into communication. Perhaps you need more time, greater consistency, clearer expectations, privacy, respect, or permission to say no without being punished. Maybe you need to participate at a different pace or be able to ask questions before committing. Try to identify the ingredients you need rather than focusing only on what you do not want. A boundary is not simply a list of what other people cannot do. It is a clear communication about how you would like to be loved, respected, and included, and what you will do to remain in relationship with yourself when those needs are not honored. Then reflect. What is one healthy ask or small action that will allow me to explore connection without abandoning myself? You might ask for clarification, name a limit, accept an invitation without committing to anything beyond it, share one honest thought, let someone know that you need support, participate in one conversation, or give yourself permission to observe a little longer before deciding. The action does not have to be dramatic. Courage is not always tearing down the entire wall. Sometimes courage is creating one carefully placed opening and noticing what happens when a little more light comes in. When you finish writing, read over what you've discovered. Is the protection you identified as a boundary, a barrier, or perhaps a little of both? Does it help you remain whole within connection? Does it protect you from something genuinely unhealthy? Or has it begun keeping you outside a relationship or community you may actually want to enter? There's no right answer. And the goal is not to make yourself more accessible to everyone all the time. Not everyone is entitled to your time, your story, your energy, or your presence. Discernment remains important, but belonging requires some willingness to be reached. It asks us to communicate what we need, allow others the opportunity to respond, and recognize that we can protect ourselves without always separating ourselves. So this month, I invite you to notice the places where you've created clarity and the places where you've created distance. Honor the protection that helped you arrive here and gently ask yourself whether it is still supporting where you want to go. Because a healthy boundary does not require us to leave ourselves behind, and it does not always require us to leave everyone else outside. Sometimes a healthy boundary is actually the doorway that allows authentic connection to enter. May you be well, may you feel whole, may you be blessed, and may you find peace, and may you always be your soul.
Sometimes we all need a little extra support. Sky Bradshaw offers one-on-one sessions designed to meet you where you are and help you connect with greater clarity, balance, and insight. From intuitive tarot and Reiki to Jin Shin Jitsu, energy healing, and integrated sessions, there are a variety of ways to explore the support that feels right for you. Sessions are available in office, virtually, by phone, and through select email offerings. Visit skybradshaw.com to explore one-on-one sessions and discover what speaks to you.